What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Residual Earners Podcast, episode 46. Today, we're going over what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I'm Jordan.
I'm Presley.
And if you have ever thought about starting your own business, being an entrepreneur, going out on your own, this is the podcast for you. So stick around. I think you're going to like what we have to say. But first, if you would, click that little bell icon down below. Subscribe to our channel. A lot of our viewers that are watching our podcast are not actually subscribed to the podcast. And then leave us a comment down below. What do you think? What are some topics that you want us to cover? What are some things you want to hear on here? We have a wealth of knowledge. We have a wealth of knowledge from new guests that are coming on the channel in the upcoming weeks. So please put a comment down below. Let us know what you think.
You know, before we get going on our 10 keys to being a successful entrepreneur, why don't you give them a little foreshadowing on Residual Earners University?
Come on, guys. This is the most exciting thing since starting this channel. Obviously, as most of you know, Presley has created an unbelievable following on TikTok over the last few months. Residual Earners Shop has really, in the last month, gotten going and cranking, which is just super exciting as well. But we, and by we, I mean, I'll give myself about 5% of the effort on this deal. Presley has been coming up with the Residual Earners University that will be an ongoing course that will be, you know, it'll be a monthly subscription that once you're subscribed, there will be multiple different chapters going over everything on how you can accomplish more in life, how you can be more successful, and how you can literally change your life forever financially, from a success standpoint, from just being, doing, and having more. And it all stems from this course that Presley has been working on for months now. And I'm going to turn it to him to give a little bit more of the meat and potatoes of it, because obviously he has been in the weeds of it now for months. So just give him a few more points on it.
Well, you did a good job. You know, to me, the more exciting part, it's all exciting, but the more exciting part to me is we're going to have a community, and we're going to collaborate with each other and bounce ideas off each other. And Jordan and I are going to jump on Zooms with you, and you can ask us questions. And I mean, it is going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to learn a ton. And to me, you know, when I'm doing the podcast here, or when we're doing the lives on TikTok, I don't get to interact with you guys as much. I mean, I read some comments, or we see comments below on our podcast channel, but when we do the Zooms, we're going to get to see your face, hear your voice. You're going to get to ask us questions. We're going to be a team, and I'm excited about that. Now, granted, just like Jordan said, we're going to have lots of good content where you can, do budgets, where you can learn how to be a better person, a better business person, where you can learn how to make money in real estate or TikTok shop or network marketing or whatever. But I'm really geeked up about the community and us getting to spend time together.
So when I think of community, guys, think about having an accountability partner, somebody that is helping you through this. You are not alone. Like Presley said, it is a community, so you will have that accountability factor, which is different from a lot of things you get online. And then number two, I think the other cool part about this is it reaches out to however you really like to learn, because there will be videos, there will be, readings of different things. And there's also, it's not a workbook, but there's kind of workbook type pages to the different chapters that you'll actually go in and work along with. So it really encompasses any way that you learn, it'll have it. So it'll reach, everybody that's really wanting to grow as a person. It's just something super exciting that we're, going to launch here in the new year at some point, pretty quickly after the new year. So be on the lookout for it, the Residual Earners University. And, it's crazy that we're not even a year into this thing, and it's grown so much. We have so much more to offer now. We're trying to give the best, insights and advice on the Residual Earner Podcast here. And, now we have one more, little arrow in the quiver that we are just super excited about.
Something else you might want to point out is that we have gone over 200,000 followers on TikTok, and we've gone over 20,000 subscribers on our podcast channel.
And we told him last week that we were gonna get it done, and Presley has done it, guys. And that that's just such a huge number that doesn't seem real. But man, that's just you've put in a lot of hours in the mornings to get that following, and it's super cool that it's finally passing these big milestones.
Well, in 2025, I can see us with 1 million on TikTok,
Yeah.
and I can see us with at least 100,000 on our podcast channel.
Definitely. The million mark's big on TikTok. And guys, the YouTube is the hardest platform to gain followers on. And at $100,000, you get the silver play button, which would be
$100,000.
100,000 followers. You get the silver play button, which would just be really, really cool milestone for the channel. We will put it up somewhere in here. We're still a ways off, but we will put it up somewhere in here so it's in the background where you can see our silver play button. And I think there's good days and bad days of doing this, and it's a lot of work, and especially now with me living up north, having to come in and not being able to come in all the time to do this. But it's definitely worth it, and it's a lot of fun.
Amen. I'll say this: the Residual Earners University is the most exciting project that we've done in a long time, and I'm pumped about that. And then obviously hitting the milestone on followers and the milestone on subscribers. It's just it makes you feel like what you're doing, people are getting something out of it.
Definitely.
And that, our goal, guys, on the podcast or on the lives are to add value to your life, to add some positivity. And that's what our goal is. And today we're going to talk about 10 keys to being a successful entrepreneur. And, it really plays in well now because we've got businesses going on, Jordan and I do, and he just started a roofing business. So a lot of this stuff's going to be fresh on his mind. And I'm going to pick his brain a little bit for you so you can hear his thoughts on it because, again, he is going through it right this moment. So if you're wanting to make that decision to start that business, then we're going to give you some nuggets today on what it takes to be successful. But the biggest thing is, guys, sure, you need to learn a little bit, but the main thing is just get going. We can read a book on how to ride a bicycle. I mean, certainly can. We can read that book, and it'll give us a few pointers, a few basics. But until we get on that bicycle and start pedaling and fall over a couple of times and skin our knee a time or two, we're not going to really learn how to ride the bicycle. Well, the same thing with business. Sure, we want to get started and we want to read the books and do a little due diligence and all that stuff, but then you got to get in the game. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the keys, and the first thing I wrote down is when you start a business, you got to be all in. And talk about that a little bit as far as the roofing business goes, Jordan. You got to start off and you got to be all in. You can't halfway do it.
I think you've seen that. So for those of y'all who don't know, which now that we've reached so many people, most of you don't know, but Preston and I literally talk on the phone probably an hour a day, I'd say, just the broken up time. So, anytime I'm in the car going to appointments, whatever it is, it's, I'll call Presley because where the big storm hits about 30 minutes northwest of where I live. So, we're talking and being all in. It just kind of took me back to for how many, 6 weeks thereafter it got started until this first snowfall, it was like every single day driving up there all day long for appointments. And it's, appointments are great and you have to have them, but in that business, there's still a back end of doing all the quoting, the office work and all that if I'm out in the field, you can't be doing that. So it's go meet with people all day long and then come back and still have to try to get stuff in the computer, get quotes done. And, it's a lot of hours and a lot of work. And I think the reason I say this is when starting a business, you wear so many hats. And, it got to the point in the car business where we didn't have to wear so many hats and we had people and team members that helped us. But, starting out in any business, especially one that, we have grand aspirations for, you have to put on a bunch of hats. You got to learn everything. And this is a business I wasn't, diverse in. And you have to learn everything, put on all these hats, do all the different areas, and it takes up a lot of time.
No, it does. And you've got to be all in. Tell them real quick about the company and the name of it and that sort of stuff real quick.
So we are Calgary Roofing and Restoration. And we are, got 2 months old now, and it's been a whirlwind. It's been a lot of work, and I am figuring so much out as we're going. And we came out with the logo and everything, and then just from doing my research and stuff, we're coming out with we're kind of rebranding with our Forever logo. We needed something to get going and get moving quickly, and now it's okay. Let's get the right logo, the right look. What works, what people want to see, what people will remember. And that's the other big thing is when starting a business, it's not going to be perfect at first. Just get going. And that's what I think is so hard for so many people is just get going. We came up with just a real quick AI logo for this thing, and just so we could get in the field and get moving. And now it's like, okay, so now we have all these jobs are booked, roofs are going on. There's a little bit more even keel to what we have going. It's not, run around like a chicken with our head cut off. So it's now you're refining the other stuff that makes everything just operate smoothly.
Did you have any doubts when you got this thing going?
I had doubts, and I still have doubts. I don't think, until you're years in and just have a well-oiled machine, there's always doubts. And, my biggest struggle right now is we know what we're doing. We know we can have an amazing product, have one of the best products out there. We also know we can have the best back end and customer service to help out when there is a problem. But right now we're still in that storm mode where leads are easy. And, my doubts come from how do we build that pipeline with leads that are consistently coming in, that are every day, leads are coming in, people are calling, our phones are ringing, there's emails in our inbox. That's where my doubts come, and that's my sole focus right now is just figuring out the marketing side of it. Because plenty of people do it. It's not rocket science, but you have to get with the right company. You have to get the right SEO going. You have to get the right Facebook leads going, the right PPC on Google. You got to lock all these things in, and that's where you create that sustainable home service building when the phones start ringing and people are looking for you.
All right. We're going to move to number 2, but again, for somebody starting the business, talk to them about you have to wear every hat.
I'll be very clear, guys. I am not a salesman. That is not my forte. I did a little bit early on in the car business with sales, just when it was just us, and there's no if I didn't go out and talk to somebody, then nobody was going to help them. But I'm literally out selling roofs. I just remember that first customer who I actually closed. The first customer I went, and I mean, the guy, it couldn't have been a worse customer for the first one because this guy is very detail oriented. He is a very smart guy. He's a general manager of a new car store, very sharp, educated individual. And he's asking me all these questions and timelines and how this works and how that works. And what if we can't do, what if the insurance company says this and what if that? And I'm going, and I'm trying to answer these. And I left there going, this guy thinks I'm an absolute idiot because I'm sitting there, never sold a roof in my life. I know nothing about roofs, nothing. And besides what I've watched like the week leading up to on YouTube while we were waiting on everything to the business license and all that stuff. And I left there and think, man, that is, I tried to sound confident, but that guy probably thinks I'm an absolute idiot. And ended up, the guy calls back and is like, I like what you had to say, and I like what you say about your company, and I'm gonna end up going with you guys. And I'm just going, I never saw that coming in a million years. But it just goes back to the wearing all hats. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be doing things that you don't want to do. Right now I am BDC, I'm marketing, sales, accounting. Luckily, my business partner, Jason, is a stud when it comes to project management. He's been a home builder for years and years and years. He could, if nobody showed up on site, he could get up there and do it himself. So it's nice to have that guy that helps you out, and that, because that's one thing I couldn't. If it was up to me to do that part, I would say this isn't for me because I can't. I'm not going to mess around with somebody's home not knowing anything about it. But knowing that I have Jason that makes sure everything is absolutely perfect on the job sites, I can wear all these other hats and figure this stuff out.
All right. I'm going to ask you one off the wall here that just came to me. What's your thoughts on having a partner in a business venture?
You gotta work together like peanut butter and jelly. It's gotta be, you gotta have your strengths, they gotta have their strengths. And at the end of the day, and obviously where this is going, you got to make sure they're doing what they say they're doing. They got to make sure you're doing what you say you're doing. There's got to be that checks and balances within the business, trust but verify. Just make sure that in some businesses, and our example that we're using, in the back of our minds, is a much more complex situation than most businesses. With the roofing business, did we quote it right? Did we get them the materials? Did we install it right? And then obviously a CPA in the background making sure that, the accounting of everything is correct. But it's when a deal's closed, it's closed, and, there's not a bunch of repercussions on the back end unless the job wasn't done correctly, which you'll realize really quick. The calls you'll get saying, hey, this isn't right, those will happen very quickly. So, if you're going to have a partner, make sure it's the right partner. Make sure that, you fit together well, personality-wise and work-wise. And that's why Jason and I fit together so well, is because, Jason is a captain on the fire department there. He is unbelievable with working with crews, from his day-to-day work to crews in the field doing roofs. And, I'm good on the back end, the business side of things. I'm excited to, at some point, get a sales team where I'm not the one, selling all the roofs, but that'll come. And just making sure you fit together, and then checks and balances to make sure you're looking at the right KPIs. What's going on the other side of things, to make sure everything is always run smoothly.
Amen. All right, number 2 on my 10 keys to being a successful entrepreneur is you got to trust your instincts, and I think you're good at that, Jordan.
I don't know if I'm good at it or not, because I can get myself into a pickle about as good as anybody can. But you got to see the opportunity, you got to do the research, and then from there, once you have all the facts, trust your instincts. I think you got to have all the facts. I think what I'm good at looking at the glass half empty sometimes. So, I always am weary of things. And then, but once you've got the facts and you believe in it, you got to commit and you got to roll.
Does trusting your instincts have anything to do with the vision you have for your company?
Trusting your instincts have anything to do with the vision? I would say yes. Because once you trust and you're ready to go, the vision's there. You know what you're trying to do. If you have all the facts, you have an idea of which direction you're heading.
I think a lot of times you've got to let your heart lead the way.
Again, checks and balances.
Right.
Because sometimes your heart can really lead the way. And like I said, the research has got to be there. You got to have all the facts, and then trust your gut from there.
I agree. All right. My third point is understand that chances are you're not going to make a lot of money in the beginning, and you've got to understand that's part of the process.
So Jason and I are lucky that we don't need this business year one to be our source of income. So our game plan is year one, do as many jobs correctly as possible, take proceeds, put them back into the business to make sure that marketing piece is where it needs to be, to make sure that, we can get the trucks, the wraps, the catch-all system for the outside of the house. All of these pieces are in place that make us go from a startup company to looking like we are the real deal. And, the main thing, though, that money going back into the company for us is marketing. But it is tough to really grow a company if you're expecting to take month one's earnings and use those for you instead of help grow the business. And same with the car business. I mean, we didn't take, salaries for years. And it's just, if you want to grow, those are the things you have to do.
Right.
Now, if you want to stay small and it all depends on the business, obviously. But if you're not looking to grow, it changes things up a little bit. But if you're looking to grow, money's got to go back into the company.
All right, number 4 on my list. I think so many people think things have to be perfect before they ever take the first step. And, I'll always say that there's never going to be a perfect time. It just doesn't happen that way. Talk about things don't have to be perfect for you to get going.
I almost think people use that as a cop-out as well, where it's, it's not perfect. It's not, we can't get going. I got to get this like right before we can ever do anything. And it's like,
so in other words, using that because they have fear.
They have fear. Yeah. But it's like I was saying, our logo was as basic as possible, but it's just like, we just had to get something out so that we could get moving. And that's the way it was with a lot of things. The system, my quick quote system is still not there and correct, which is, how we can quote a house in 5 minutes just off a few, it asks a few different measurements and you can quote the whole thing. And, there's still so many things that aren't right. Jason just got business cards 2 weeks ago. But you still have to get moving. And if you can do the job, you can do what needs to be done. And there's things in the background that are not right, not set up yet. I set up QuickBooks last week. It's just get moving, and then as you're moving, get these other things figured out.
It's almost like say yes and then figure out how to do it as you go almost.
Yeah. Within reason.
Yeah. But you don't want to overthink it, and it's okay to be a little messy.
That's it.
Yeah. I think so many people want things to be just perfect, and I'm telling you right now, they're not going to be when you start. Even if you think you've got it, that it's perfect, it ain't going to be perfect.
Correct.
We've learned that in several businesses now. We've thought we had it figured out, and you get going and you realize that was not the way to do it. My number 5 point is that one key, though, whether you think you got to be perfect or not, you don't, but you do have to show up every day. And whether you feel like it or not, you got to be there.
Well, I'll give a prime example of that is obviously the snow has fallen, so I'm not meeting with as many people in person, so I have the ability to, be here in Dallas and it's not affecting things. And that's why the last couple podcasts we've been doing remote is just, I have to be there. I can't just take off a week right now. But it's like Thanksgiving Day, we fly in here, and on the way home, what am I doing? Talking on the phone, trying to figure out a quote and all this other stuff. And it's like, it's not Thanksgiving up there. It's Thanksgiving down here. And I could just say, well, don't bother me for the weekend or for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But, work's still going. And if I don't answer the phone, nothing is going to happen. Customers are going to get mad. Jason's going to be like, well, you're kind of putting me in a tough spot here. So you got to be there. And there's so many perks of owning a business, and there are cons 100% in owning a business. But at the end of the day, you have to be available even when you don't want to be. And that's a prime example on Thanksgiving Day. I'm still taking time. I didn't work all day or anything like that, but you're answering calls, some emails, and getting things figured out, even on days like that.
Well, understand that if you're wanting to make the big money, a chance to get wealthy, owning your business is the way most people do it.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is when you're working for the other man or the other lady, then when you leave, you can just leave.
Yeah.
When you own the business, you don't just leave. It leaves with you. And like Jordan, we're driving back from the airport, me picking him up, and he's on the phone doing a deal, So, you never can really turn the switch off when you own the business, can you?
Correct. And, I would say when you say, most wealthy people own their own business, I know just in my realm of friends, some very high-end lawyers, and now they're most of them are at their own firm, have started their own firm, but there are some very high end lawyers, some surgeons, and if you don't own your business, the group I've seen that make the most money are in finance of some sort. Whether it's managing money or having a hedge fund, something of that nature. Those guys can really make a lot of money. But being the CEO of a normal company is not going to get a lot of people where they want to go. That's not going to get you, the supercars. That's not going to get you the private planes. That's not going to get you all of that stuff. You can make a great living and have a nice home and enjoy life without concerns. But if you're really looking for that next level, like I've said, I've seen a few different professions that do really, really well. If not, it's a lot of guys owning businesses.
Well, I'm not going to perform surgery on anyone, and I'm not capable of, I guess I could have been a lawyer, but that just wasn't my cup of tea to think about 7 years of school.
Yeah.
For us common people, or more common people, I think you got to understand that we can start a business that can be massively successful and that we can get wealthy with. And it doesn't have to be a complicated business. Roofing is not real complicated. Auto transport is not real complicated. My network marketing business is not real complicated. It just involves getting in the weeds, getting after it, and making it happen. And speaking of that, my next point, number 6, Jordo, is how important is it to be aware of what's working and what's not working?
The most important. And that's what, this marketing journey that I'm on is figuring that out and being in the weeds every single week, going over the data and the numbers and all these different things so you can piece together what works and what doesn't work. And that's, one thing, and we're going to have a guest on, Caleb from the car business. He's doing something kind of similar to what we're doing and wants to come on the podcast. And that's one thing that I think he's done so well in the car business is figure out what's working and not what's not working, and is always adjusting to make sure he's staying on top of things. And I think that's a big separator in companies that stay in business and don't, because it's always been done this way. That's not the mentality that's going to make a long-lasting company. It's always adjusting.
Always adjusting.
Always adjusting.
So has some of your marketing efforts worked and some not worked?
Speaking of it doesn't always work. It's the old school way, but yeah, the one route that our boy Bruce, which y'all have seen on the podcast before, of USA Roofing. Bruce is the kind of the only one of his kind, but he's done something with me that has worked fantastically, and now it's just figuring out, because I'm trying to get as many ways of getting leads in as possible. There's multiple different ways to get them in, so I'm going after all of these different ways. And so just because one works, and if that always worked, we could do wildly successfully well with just that one source of marketing. But that's not how I want to do it. I want to have it where I have 5 ways of getting unbelievable leads, and okay, one is down, but I still have these 4 other ways of leads coming in, and that's the way to do it. Never be satisfied.
No.
Even if you don't want growth, even if for me, I want growth. If you don't want growth and you're happy where you're at, well, let's figure out how to pay less in PPC and Google and still get the same amount. Or now my margins are going up. You don't have to say you don't have to want to grow to be better. You just need to want to, tweak different areas, get the margins up, keep playing the margin game of how little money can I spend to do the same thing and still get the same result. So you're always looking to improve, even if growth is not on your radar.
I'm thinking everybody on our podcast is thinking growth, baby.
Think big. Think big.
I tell everybody, let's shoot for the stars. If we miss the stars, we'll at least land on the moon.
That's it.
Think big. I always think big. Mentioning showing up, I'm jumping back a couple of points, but it was a little bit daunting to me even to do those lives there in the beginning and get up at 5 o'clock and do a live from 6 to 8 or 9 o'clock every day. And, I'm thinking, is this an effort that I should be putting out? Is this going to be worth it? Is this going to be, and in the beginning, I had my doubts, but now obviously, my gosh, we've got an amazing following, an amazing team, got 200,000 plus followers. And, now I go, wow, but in the beginning, it was a challenge doing it. You got to show up. I'm saying that. All right. Number 7, how do you balance listening to other people versus listening to yourself as far as how to run the business?
Well, I think you're going to like this one. Don't ever listen to somebody who doesn't have what you want. So if I'm going to take advice on my business, it's going to be from Bruce. It's going to be from 2 other guys out at the club that own massive home service businesses and, have made ungodly amounts of money in the home service business. Those are the guys I'm going to talk to. I'm not talking to somebody that has no sense in the subject I need expertise. Or I'm going to talk to, my buddy who's owns an accounting firm that if I need something on the back end of it, those are the people I'm going to talk to. What was the second part of that question?
Well, no, just listening to other people's advice versus listening to yourself.
I listen to myself on stuff I know that I know what I'm doing in. So that's where I'm going to, I trust my own set of skills and all that. But the second I have a question, just, we keep going back to marketing or like I just said with accounting type stuff. I have an accounting degree, a corporate accounting degree from Arizona State. I don't claim that makes me I don't know everything. I don't know half of everything. So in those kind of situations, I'm going to get with one of my friends that knows exactly what's going on and get advice from them and then trust myself in areas that I'm strong in.
All right, number 8. How do you keep it simple? Because when you get started, you can want to do all social media platforms. You can want to be in everything and doing all kinds of media. And how do you simplify it and focus on just a few things and get them right?
Keep it simple, stupid. It really comes down to your business plan, what you have budgeted, and then write this stuff out ahead of time so and I'm not putting money into all different platforms at the moment. I'm putting stuff into where I think the best bang for the buck is and where I know that I can be successful with it. And that's where I'm going to focus on. And it's not, if I have X amount of dollars, I don't want to sprinkle X amount of dollars over 10 different areas and put just a little bit into each one and then I end up with nothing. I'd rather focus in 1 or 2 of them where I know I can have some success, gain some traction, and that's where I'm going to focus my efforts. You can't do too much at first.
So then when you get one area going, you can add as you go?
Add as you go. So once I get one thing up and like I talked about with Bruce and how we have marketed, that's working. So this is going to sound crazy to you guys, but basically a $5,000 investment has created $500,000 in revenue. I don't know what the return is on that.
A lot. So that's what we started with, and that's what we're going with. And from there, now that we're doing jobs and money is coming in, I've upped that budget from $5,000 to $15,000. And I am also now figuring out where this next income needs to go into to start building up these other things. But I had to get income first, unless, and it's great whenever you can start a business and have
$500,000, $100,000, $50,000 to say, hey, I'm starting it with this, and I have the funds to do all these different things. But even if you have that, you still want to be smart with it. Get something moving that works. Now let's start figuring out these other pieces. So then we kind of rise everything up at the same time and get all, like I said, I want 5 different lead sources coming in that are producing me massive amounts of revenue in each section.
I got you. All right, number 9. I think I'm correct on this. I know it is with us building our podcast and with us building our lives, our Residual Earners lives. You got to focus early on about building your audience or your following or your customer base. Talk a little bit about in the beginning, you got to get some customers.
You got to get customers. You can't do any. It's hard to run a business with no customers. And that's what I've been talking about with, we knew we had something that should bring in some customers and it worked. So you got to get out in front of people. And, whether that's going to job fairs, whether that's going to, in the roofing business, to HOA meetings, to insurance companies, to real estate agents, you got to figure out, one, who is your customer? Who's your perfect customer? You need to do that to start. And number 2, where does my customer go? What do they like? Where can I find my customer at? And you got to run these equations, and then you've just got to get in front of them. That's you got to get in front of them. You got to find them. You got to know where they're at, and then you got to set up your marketing around that.
No, and that's very similar to what we've done with like the lives. We had to get an audience first. If you're not talking to anybody, it doesn't help you to be on there talking. I mean, you got to have somebody wanting to listen to you. And then on our podcast, obviously, we started out with, my gosh, we got excited if we had 2 or 3 new subscribers, know, and now we get hundreds and hundreds of subscribers. So,
and again, guys, just an example of you got to keep trying stuff until it works. Randy kept telling us to go live, and we went live, and we put separate mics on the podcast, and we set the phone up on the table here, and we lived our podcast, and we thought, this is great. This is it'll be an hour of quality content. They'll be right there with us, getting great sound quality. They'll see the whole production here, and I mean, literally, I think we got 5 followers at one time, and I mean, we were flatlining for a lot of that at 0, straight up. And I'm just going, well, if that doesn't work, well, I mean, I don't know. You think at least somebody would want to hear what we have to say, but nobody did. And then regroup. And we've had a bunch of different variations. Presley sitting at his desk. Presley sitting in front of the bookcase. Now we figured that, seeing the railing in the upstairs, works. And he's tweaked his message 100 different times. And you're just always trying new stuff until you figure it out. And you always are looking at the analytics that go along with it to figure out what worked, what didn't work, and how can I change. If I see a little uptick, what made that little uptick? Okay, I'm going to focus more on that. And, you're always changing, evolving to the things that are working.
Nope, I agree with that. All right, number 10. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Number 10. I think it is so important, whether it is roofing or Residual Earners University or anything that we do, you want it to be good, but you want it to be simple. Mm-hmm. It's got to be doable for the customer, for the follower, for the subscriber. I mean, they've got to be able to engage and know what they're doing. Talk about keeping things simple.
Keeping things simple. Elaborate on that for me.
Well, just like with Residual Earners University.
Yeah.
Just give you an example there. Shoot, we could stick so much stuff in there.
Shameless plug, Residual Earners University coming soon.
Shameless plug.
Check it out.
But I don't want to stick so much content in there that people get in there and they're just overwhelmed,
Yeah.
And when you're talking to people about the roofing business, these folks, most don't know a thing about roofing, so you can't get too elaborate with them. I mean,
who said I can get elaborate on it?
Well, I think you're getting better. I think you're getting better. We need to have a podcast on just mine and Jordan's conversations. The first 3 or 4 sales jobs he went out on. It's like, Dad, what do I say? What do I do?
I'm just trying to remember my company name whenever I introduce myself.
But anyway, no, just not overwhelming people, I guess.
Yeah, and that's where it can be too simple or it can be too complex. And really, again, you're just checking what works and what doesn't work and figuring out and tailoring your message to make sure that you are giving people exactly the right amount of information. And you're always changing your message. And I don't know if this is answering your question. I don't know which direction you want me to go with that, but it's, you're always changing your message about what you're telling people and making sure that you're giving them the right information. And it kind of goes the same with the TikTok shop videos that we're creating, like we've talked about since I've been in town. Just, I feel like I'm keeping it too simple. I'm not giving them enough information. I need to shift more to showing how things work and hitting the highlights rather than just the basic information. And then, it can go too far where you're giving too much information. So you're just always kind of teetering that line of not enough to too much, and you just want to stay in that middle ground. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did. It did. I just know that, doing research on like universities and stuff like that people have done in the past, they just keep saying you don't want to overwhelm people.
Yeah. And that's what I think we've done so good / you've done so well with Residual Earner University is it is broken down in a very simple form. And pardon if I sneeze. It's broken down in very simple form, and it is step by step, and you can bite off as much as you want to, but you know exactly how the chapters and inside the chapters are laid out, that you know exactly what you're getting into before you start that chapter, and it's very, very simple. And that's what the workbook side of it and being able to actually take the notes, but it's done in the format that you want it done that'll help people the most through the pages. It's going to be amazing.
Well, we're going to have videos that if you're like to watch a video and learn, you can do it that way, or we'll have a PDF that you can go through and it'll be interactive where you can put your numbers in for like budgets and But I don't want to get it so complicated that people feel overwhelmed, because in today's world, people don't have hours and hours to sit around and study something. They want, they want the abbreviated version, just give me the highlights.
Correct.
But anyway, well, all right, let's recap here. Number 1, 10 keys to being a successful entrepreneur. Number 1 is go all in. You got to go all in. I mean, if you're going to do it. Jump in the deep end. I believe if we go all in on something, I believe great and mighty forces come to our aid. I believe that the law of attraction kicks in. I believe that our mind, our subconscious, our reticular activating system kicks in, and I believe things start helping us, but it doesn't do it unless you go all in. Number 2, you got to trust your instincts. Yeah, you need to do research. And guys, get this, we can all become an expert in any field we want to in today's world. We can read enough books and watch enough videos and go to enough seminars. We can become an expert at whatever we want to become an expert in. So don't feel like that you're going to be lacking knowledge. I'm telling you, if you just have reasonable intelligence, you can be an expert at just about anything. Number 3, early on, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. Hopefully you do, and occasionally you will. But ordinarily, when we start a new business, we're not going to make a ton of money right off the bat. And you just got to know that going in, and have you a little nest egg put back or something that you can live on for a little while you're getting that business up and running. Number 4, perfection is not required. I'm telling you, you can be messy. You can not have it all down. Understand, chances are you're not going to know what you're doing on your 5-year plan when you do your first day of business. So just understand that. Number 5, you got to show up. And early on, it can be a challenge to show up because things may not be going your way, but you got to be there. You got to show up to go up. I'm telling you. Number 6, You got to be paying attention to what's working and what's not working. That is key. If it ain't working, cut it and move to the next thing. Don't just keep throwing good money on top of bad, especially on your advertising and your social media stuff. Number 7. Decide that Jordan had some great advice on only take advice from somebody that has what you want. So take advice from them, but you got to trust your instincts. There's a balance there, okay? Number 8, keep it simple. You don't have to do everything. Start off, with maybe one social media platform, and then move to more. But start off simple, get it down, then add as you go. Number 9, focus on building your audience, especially if you're doing something on social media. You got to get an audience built with the roofing company. You got to start finding some customers. I mean, it all starts off by having those customers, that following, those subscribers, those people that are wanting what you've got. You got to find them. And then number 10 is just try your best to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. If you overcomplicate it, then it'll get messy on you in a hurry. But I'll say this, guys, we all have a chance to make some crazy money if we will just get focused, get out there, and get started. The biggest thing I can tell you is that journey of 1,000 miles starts with that first step, and you've got to be willing to get out there and take that first step. Don't wait till things are perfect to get going, because you'll never get going, because things will never be just perfect. All right, give them a couple of closing thoughts, Mr. Swagerty.
No, it feels great to be back in the studio. I love being here and doing the podcast here, so it's great to be back. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Don't forget, Residual Earner University is coming your way soon. Be on the lookout for that. And leave a comment down below. What do you want to hear on this podcast? What are some topics? What questions do you have? Leave them down below. We're about to get really active in the comments section, so start leaving some comments and subscribe to the channel.
Amen.
So, awesome, man.
Love you.
Love you too. Thank y'all for joining in.